Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to SportsTime HQ. I'm your host, Fernando. Joining with me today is my great co-host, Keith. We don't have Gary here today. He's not with us. I think one of his only times he's missed the show this season. But he's not here. We got the former duo here, Keith and I. Keith, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Obviously technical difficulties, we love that. But you know what? We're here. We're ready to go. We're about to have fun. Both our teams suck. And that's kind of the moral of the story.
Yeah, big time. I mean, the Seahawks couldn't have put up a worse performance if they tried on Sunday Night Football. So, I mean, Packers fans, everybody's saying they look great. I mean, yeah, sure, but you didn't exactly get a game. So, you're going to need to play better than that to go on the long run playoffs. But, you had a good win in my Seahawks. So.
Yeah, and obviously we'll talk about Geno Smith pretty soon. And of course, we already got Franco back in the comments. He's back from Northwest Montana. What is up, Franco? Yeah, Patriots. I think Patriots are really just trying to lose. I think that's all we got to do, realistically.
You're better off. I mean, at this stage of the season, just lose out, try and get the number one spot.
Yeah, of course. Let's go into some quick news and notes around the league. And Keith, how'd you do in your fantasy playoffs? First round.
Fantasy playoffs, V-Doinks was doinked out of the playoffs by like 0.12 or something. I hung on last night. I thought the last Jacoby Myers catch had kicked me out of the playoffs in our listener league, but no, I held on. So, Fernando, I believe it's me and you next week in the semifinal.
It very much is you and I can't remember who the other two. I think it's Tactical, and
and is it the Elite something? Elite
guy?
I think
all
it's
elite. Yeah.
There and the other. So yeah, it should be good. I mean, hopefully, one of us in SportsTime HQ is going to make it to the final. So
yeah.
Going to be interesting, but yeah, got through there. Other league, I was second. I already I had the bye, so obviously this week, and then the other one that I made it in, I won. I pretty much hammered that one. So yeah, so hit the semifinals in the three that I made it to. So happy with that, and hopefully we can make it to the final now.
I literally lost in my big dynasty league to my dad, actually, by 10 points. And I know that the difference maker was Jonathan Taylor fumbling just before getting into the end zone. I think that could have got me really close, maybe could have got me the victory. I also benched Keenan Allen for DK Metcalf. Worst mistake of my life. So that was horrendous. And then my friends league, where we also have a Trophy Smack trophy going around, I lost by 1 yard.
No.
Yep.
You had a cruel weekend, my friend.
I was really hoping to wake up today and be like, "Wow, I'm gonna win with the auto stat corrections. The stat corrections gonna help me out. Not even the stat corrections could help me out."
Yeah, that's what I was hoping in our league, that there was no stat corrections because it was so small of a margin. I was like, please say there isn't. But yeah, no, just about got away with it.
It's crazy because those are the only two that I lost, and I won every single one of my leagues. I think out of 18 leagues I have, I won every single one except those two, and those two were big money leagues too.
It's always disappointing when
it's always. How are you doing, by the way, in your money league?
So the big money league is two. Well, there's two of them. One I got straight into the semifinal. Other one I won this week in the semifinal. So they're the big two money leagues. So I'm hoping, even if I get to the final, I've won without even winning. Say finishing second, I've won some pretty nice cash. So let's hope I can just get there this week, and then we'll see.
So that's good. That's good that you made it to at least the semifinals.
That's it. Yeah.
Franco in the comments says, "Are the Bears ever going to get a win?" You know what? They're 0-8 in the last 8 games. They've lost 8 straight games. I think they started the season 4-2, and we talked about how Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels were the top 2 for MVP candidates, Offensive Rookie of the Year candidates. Yeah. And then that's completely changed. Bears suck. They continue to suck. I heard a rumor saying that maybe they were going to try and trade in the offseason for Kyle Shanahan for their head coach.
Yeah, there's been a few of that going around. I mean, I can see why, because that 49ers roster is getting older. They're going to have to pay Purdy. It's not going to be the team it was. And like then you go to the Bears and it's an upcoming young team. Can you change around that system and get Caleb playing, the way everybody wants him to play? I'm not sure, but yeah, it'll be an interesting one.
Yeah. I'm intrigued to see what's going to happen in the offseason with the Bears, because obviously the Bears have just been the Bears, and with the tough division that they're in, it's like you have to be top tier right around the Lions, the Panthers, the Packers, and then of course the Vikings, who kind of shocked everyone. So
yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, they have what they got. They got the Lions this week. But the Lions are banged up, so I still expect the Lions to win, but I think they'll have a better go at the Bears. And then it's my Seattle on Boxing Day, and no, we're gonna come back. We're not gonna lose to the Bears. We're probably gonna lose to the Bears, but I'm saying now we're not gonna lose to the Bears. So it's down to them, whoever they play in Week 18 to get a win.
Well, here's my question for you and the Seahawks: do you want to win with the Bears, and do you want to make it to the playoffs, or are you just gonna try and get the draft capital that you want?
I'd rather get draft capital because I can't. I don't get where the team is going really. If with Geno, that I've been saying it all season, saying it all in the pod. I think we have the bones of a good defense. Offensive line has needed work for about 10 years. That's nothing new. We've got 3 really good wide receivers. I just don't know where we're going with Geno. I mean, he's looked terrible this season. Not great last season either. I mean, he's not a quarterback that's going to get you into a deep playoff run. Either you just kind of, whatever happens to the season, whether we win or lose, make the playoffs. Either way, I think they need to trade up if they want a quarterback, regardless. So, I don't understand where they're going, because like he got injured and you bring Sam Howell in, and it's like, here's a shot, and Howell looked terrible. If probably worse to be honest. So I mean, we're not going anywhere fast with our quarterbacks. So like, I prefer to lose out, and then you'll still probably have to trade up a bit to get whoever you want. But I don't see the coaches doing that.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to see, especially if you guys are going for a quarterback. You guys will need to trade up to try and get one of the top quarterbacks at least.
Yeah.
Or maybe hope that maybe somehow fall to you, which I've seen some mocks falling far. Head coach. We got a new head coach, but not in the NFL, in college football. Bill Belichick. He's going to UNC. He'll be 77 years old when his contract is officially up at UNC. I heard rumors that maybe he was. There was a rumor that UMass was trying to get him, which would have been interesting because University of Massachusetts stay around New England. But of course, he goes to UNC. Do you think he can succeed as a former future Hall of Famer, anyways, NFL head coach? Can he succeed in the college football landscape?
I honestly don't know. I really thought this wouldn't happen. I know there was the rumors and clubs, but I just don't see it suiting him. It's got to be all about the school and the project and everything like that. And I just don't see it. Like, why? Like, you see these guys, like they should listen to him. He's he's going to be a Hall of Fame coach and all that stuff in the NFL. But I don't know whether it's going to work out for him. I think he's going to have to change his attitude and the way he comes across with players. The way he did it in the NFL won't work at the college level. That's the way I think, anyways. But I mean, I hope it does. But I just don't see it going too well. And it'd be a shame if he kind of had his reputation ruined as well, just because he went to college after everything he did with the Patriots. So I mean, yeah, I hope it works out and stuff. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, I mean, I think if he has a terrible season in his first year, there's gonna be a lot of questions. Why did he go there? Yada yada yada. It was really Brady, the big guy, that really made him the story. So we'll see what happens, obviously, and we'll see next season. I'll be seeing a UNC game, not with Belichick though. I'll be going in a couple weeks. Couple weeks it is.
Oh yeah, you're going. That's next week. Next week. What do we got?
Yeah.
Next week.
2 weeks. I think 2 weeks. I don't know. Yeah, it's the 28th, so it's gonna be exciting. I'm excited to see how that's gonna go, because I got tickets right at the 50-yard line. It's gonna be so intriguing to see. All right, so we're gonna see 2 college football teams in a baseball ballpark, who the two schools are mainly for NCAA basketball, top schools. What a wild thing.
That's
What a
going to be
wild
very
thing.
interesting.
That is going to be interesting. I'm intrigued, though. I've always wanted to go to the Fenway Bowl, and now I got the chance to go. So it's going to be fun.
Yeah, that'll be a good day out.
Yeah, 100%. Moving on real quick to the draft picks. Race for the number one overall draft pick this season. Top 10, Giants, Raiders, Patriots, Panthers, Titans in the top 5. And we got the Jaguars, Browns, Jets, Bears, Saints to round out the last 5. My Patriots really could have the number 1 overall pick. But can I rely on the Giants and Raiders to lose? Or to win, sorry.
The Giants, I don't think so. The Raiders are trying to win. They really are. But I don't. I think the Giants will just do it. I think they're just a little bit worse than you guys. But like, if you did, who do you want? I mean, you're not going to get Shador, who's probably not want to go there anyways. He's going to go end up with the Raiders or something. You go for Hunter.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be Travis Hunter. I want Travis Hunter, in my opinion. I think that's the only way I would think that we get someone in the top 3. We can't be quarterbacks. And I think if there is quarterbacks like Cam Ward, and then Shador Sanders going 1 and 2, then boom, Travis Hunter. But
yeah.
I mean, it really depends on what the Giants want, because if they go for a quarterback in free agency, they might try and, I don't know, add an offensive tackle, maybe trade down then and have someone else jump up ahead of the Patriots.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because it sounds like Sanders is like telling teams, I won't play for you if you pick me, so don't bother wasting your pick. So like that,
yeah.
He can't really do that, but like, who that is as well, so it kind of has a bit more weight behind it.
Yeah, I have a feeling him and Travis Hunter, one of the two, is going to have like the all-time biggest rookie contract signing after the draft.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah,
wouldn't be. Playoff picture right now for the AFC. What's looking like? The Chiefs, Bills, Steelers, Texans. They've all clinched. They're all right now the top 4 seeds. In the NFC, the 3 that have clinched are the Lions, the Eagles, and the Vikings. Right now, as the standings stand, the Lions and Eagles are 1 and 2. The Vikings are number 5 because the Lions are ahead of them in their division. Right now, if the playoffs started today, the Ravens, Broncos, and Chargers would be in the AFC playoffs. In the NFC, the Bucks, the Rams, the Packers, and the Commanders would make it. Keith, I'll start with you about the AFC, because that's where we'll start. Colts, Dolphins, Bengals are the 3 remaining teams that are in the hunt. The rest have been eliminated. Do you see any possibility for the Colts, Dolphins, or Bengals to somehow sneak in, being behind 2 games with 3 games left?
No, I mean, of course it's possible, but I don't see them getting in. I also don't think that there's so many flaws with these teams as well. I mean, Anthony Richardson just kills this team, if you ask me, for the Colts. It's just not working out so far. The Dolphins can't stop anyone like the Bengals. I mean, like Joe Burrow is probably having his best season in the NFL, and the Bengals defense is just absolutely awful. Same kind of with the Dolphins. They're not that good, and Tua has not looked good the last couple of weeks. It's taken him into the second half to try and get things going, and he's leaving it way too late. So I just think there's better teams. I mean, Ravens, Broncos, Chargers, I think they're all better balanced teams right now than the ones trying to get in.
Yeah, I mean, very much so. I think out of all the teams, if there was a possibility for a team to make it, I think it could be the Bengals. And the reason why, I don't know if you saw the what ifs. I don't know if you got to see any of the what ifs, but
I've seen how that all works out.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. The Bengals, they have to win out, which they're 3 games away from winning out, and they go against the Browns, who are terrible, the Broncos, who are good, and the Steelers, who are good. So they do have 2 really tough games to end off the season. Mm-hmm. Now, the Broncos, they do face the Bengals once. They beat the Colts this past week. They have to lose 3 games, so they have to lose the last 3 games. The Chargers, the Bengals, the Chiefs. Those are 3 tough teams, Keith. 3 tough.
They could easily lose all 3, to be fair.
That's what I'm saying. They could easily, especially because 2 of the 3 are division games as well.
Yeah.
Dolphins, they would have to lose 2 games. They already lost to the Texans, so now they only have to lose 1 more game. Here's the problem: San Francisco, can they win? The Browns, they'll lose. They'll beat the Browns. The Jets, it could be a swing. Could be a swing. So that is tough. And then lastly, the Colts. They need to lose 2 games. They already lost one to the Broncos this past week. They have to lose to, unfortunately, either the Titans, the Giants, or the Jaguars.
The Jags might give them the best. If Mac Jones is in the form, like, he looked all right, pretty good against a bad team this week. But the Jags are maybe, but you should be beating them 3 teams if you're the Colts.
I mean, yeah, but the Colts are the Colts, so they probably would lose at least.
Yeah, exactly. Who knows?
But if all this happens, the Bengals sit at 9-8 and they're in the playoffs.
Well, I'll tell you this: the Bengals are going to give themselves the best chance. I mean, they're going to go out every game, and their offense is going to give them a chance to win the game. It's all about if they can get this defense to turn up and make stops. So, I mean, they do have it, I think, maybe slightly in their favor, but I can see Miami losing another game, so that obviously helps. You know, you're hoping for a slip up from the Colts with them 3 easy teams, and like we said, the Broncos don't have an easy end to their schedule. So, I mean, it could happen. And like the one thing I would say, if the Bengals for some reason were able to just do something on defense and make it in, I don't think any team would want to play them the way Burrow is playing, because he could just outscore them and win. So it would make it very interesting, and it's making, I suppose, they're still in with a chance, and while they're in with a chance, it makes it exciting.
It'd be such a cool story, to be honest, to see them make it, and who knows, make it far too.
Yeah,
they could.
Definitely.
In the NFC, real quick, Seahawks, Falcons, Cardinals, 49ers, Cowboys, and Saints are the last 6 in the hunt. The rest have been eliminated. I think, as my take, and I think you might agree with me as well, Cowboys and the Saints are both eliminated in this picture scenario.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Cardinals, 49ers, Seahawks. They're the big 3 because the division's wide open, with the Rams being 8-6. Seahawks obviously do not have the tiebreaker over the Rams, but I think if there's any team to make it to the playoffs, it's the Seahawks out of all this.
Yeah, we have got the tiebreaker over the Cards. We've beaten them twice.
Yeah.
Falcons look terrible. I mean, they just about got by last night against a bad Raiders team. I don't think the 49ers are making it. Too many injuries, too much going on there. Yeah. But it's again, if you're a Seahawks fan who wants to make it, it could be exciting. We have the Rams last game of the season, so it all depends if we're in with a chance there. I mean, the Rams have the Jets this week. I don't expect the Jets to do us any favors. We've got the Vikings. I expect that we lose. So that means we'd be 1 game down and trying to pull it back. So, yeah, it's looking like the Rams division, but I hope we're still in with a chance come the last game. At least makes it interesting.
I think it's going to come down to the very last game, like we were talking about. And it's going to be nuts. It's going to be a crazy game. That's going to decide the division.
Yeah. That'd be fun to watch.
Oh, it's so much fun. I think personally they should make that into prime time.
Yeah, we don't do well in prime time recently, but sure.
Well, yeah, maybe not prime time. Maybe we'll back out of that. Let's go into some of the injuries, and starting with the quarterbacks. I'll just name the quarterbacks. You can name me the big one, which I think we already know the consensus big one. But Patrick Mahomes, high ankle sprain. He's week to week. Derek Carr, concussion and a hand. Right now, it looks like he's 3 weeks from contact, which means he's probably unlikely to play for the rest of the season. Jalen Hurts, broken ring finger in his non-throwing hand. I think we've seen that in the past many times with teams just still playing the quarterback. Just got to be very careful, wrap it up. But again, a thing to monitor this week. Geno Smith, he does have a knee injury, expected to be able to practice this week. Will he be able to suit up is the bigger question. And then Kenneth Walker, Kenneth Walker is not a quarterback. Those are the 4 quarterbacks. Keith, name me the biggest one. We already know this one.
It's Mahomes. I mean, especially for playoffs this week. If you're in the semifinal and Mahomes is your quarterback, I mean, you're dicey. I expect him to play Noah Mahomes. Wrap it up. It just I'd imagine he won't be running around a lot. He'll just be thrown from the pocket, but it is dicey. I think if he is fit to play, you have to start him, no question about it. But yeah, it's definitely dicey, not a thing you want going into a semifinal.
Yeah, I mean, their remaining games are not easy as well. It's the Texans, the Steelers, and the Broncos.
Yeah, and then the other side of that is like I suppose they still want a number one spot, but you could just rest them. They are, they're already in the playoffs, but you want to maintain that number one spot.
They have Carson Wentz, the Eagles' believer.
I mean, I think everybody's done with Carson Wentz, and he knows his place now. That is a backup. He could do fine with that team because they're good, but keep Mahomes for the playoffs and make sure he's 100%. But I still expect that they'll put him out there if he wants to play.
Who was the backup that the Chiefs had before? Was it Chad Henne? Is that who the guy was?
Chad Henne, yeah.
Yeah, Henne. Yeah, I think they got to call him up. Call him up again. See, hey, you want to suit up? Come out of retirement. We might need you a little bit.
He did a job, all right.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Then you can rest Mahomes. Then you're fine. Yeah. He knows the offense already.
True.
But yeah, I think this is the biggest one. And then if you had to pick another one, it's the Hurts with the situation, but I don't see that really being a problem. For the running backs, too bad Gary is not here to talk about Nick Chubb. He's got a broken foot. He's out for the season. David Montgomery, MCL injury. He is also out for the season. Alvin Kamara, groin adductor injury, day-to-day monitor, though, this week because I don't know if he's going to be able to suit up coming up this week. And then Kenneth Walker, still unknown. Status is to be determined for week 16. I think the biggest one we can say, obviously, comparing Chubb and Montgomery, it's got to be Montgomery because of how good those Lions are and how horrendous their injury report is.
Yeah, it's definitely Monty. Shame for the Lions. I mean, they had it going there with Sonic and Knuckles, as they were called.
Yeah.
And it was really working for them. I mean, like, once Gibbs doesn't get hurt, you're fine. But his workload's just going to go through the roof. I mean, if he already wasn't helping you win your league, he's definitely going to be like the biggest league winner out there.
Exactly.
If you have him. So, yeah. But Chubb as well, just to mention, I mean, what an unlucky dude after coming back after that horrific knee injury, and now he's got a broken foot. I mean, I expect him to retire. Like his lower half has taken a beating since college and then the NFL. So it's a shame if that's how he goes, but I would expect, he would retire.
Yeah, I mean, he's been an amazing running back the years he's been healthy. Obviously, the last 2 seasons just have not gone his way.
Yep.
I'll combine the wide receivers and tight ends because we only have one tight end. Xavier Legette, groin injury week to week. Alec Pierce concussion, something to monitor this week. Jalen Waddle knee injury day to day. He avoided a major injury. Wan'Dale Robinson in concussion protocol, again another one to monitor, and then Zach Ertz, who's also in concussion protocol, to monitor this week. So 3 people in concussion protocol. I think the biggest one is Jalen Waddle, and obviously that's because of the fact that he did avoid a major injury, but will he suit up with kind of the season already being done for the Dolphins? Will he suit up? Is my bigger question.
Yeah, you got to be careful with knees too, and like just from a fantasy point of view, I wouldn't trust them this week going into the semifinal. I wouldn't, even if he is, gonna play. I just wouldn't trust him.
Yeah, exactly. All right, you got any more news, notes, injuries, anything else to mention?
Nothing. I think you got it all.
All right. Well, then let's get into the most important segments of this show. It's the quarterback waiver wire ads of the week. Let's get into it. I'm going to start first. And as much as I bash the Colts and I bash Anthony Richardson in the offseason, he is my guy to pick up this week. And the reason why is he has got very favorable matchups to end off the year. He's closing up with Tennessee, New York, and Jacksonville that we've mentioned already today. He did score 16.38 points this past week, which isn't the best for a quarterback, but it's also not bad for a quarterback. It's about average, I'd say. But if you look at the last 4 games he has played, he's averaging 20.15 fantasy points. That is really good numbers, and especially with the really good favorable matchups this upcoming week. He is, I think, a solid pickup this week, and he's going to give you that rushing ability that he's been producing this past 4 weeks. And I think he's a guy that can help you if you lose Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, any of these big guys that you've been starting, even Geno Smith, who was a top 12 quarterback at one point. I think this is a guy you can easily plug in and play.
Yeah, he's a bit like the guy I'm going to go with next, but that he's better for fantasy than he is actually in real life NFL.
Yeah.
You can't kind of argue it. If a quarterback's going to put up average about 20 points, I mean that's what you want. The schedule, like you said, Tennessee, Giants, the Jags, very favorable to end out the year, especially in your playoffs, semifinal, final. I'd expect them to hit that 20-point, if not more, the next couple of weeks. So, yeah, it's definitely a good pickup.
Perfect. Let's talk about your guy. He saluted to the Jets and he said, "Roger that. I'll make sure it's done."
Yeah, it's Aaron Rodgers. I think it was Gary's guy last week. And like I said, yeah, like I said, he probably doesn't look great in the real life NFL, but his numbers don't lie. He put up under 30 points this week, and if you combined him with, if you were stacking him with Davante Adams, he got 42 points this week. I mean, you were surefire to make it into the semifinal in your leagues if you had them too. But yeah, I just think he's against the Rams. Could be another kind of shootout for these guys. I expect them to be behind and Aaron Rodgers to start playing big and going long to Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson. So yeah, I just think he's probably getting a bit better as it's gone on for fantasy as the weeks have gone on, and I just think he's a good pickup this week.
Yeah, I can agree. I mean, I'm not a guy who was all in on Rodgers. I think last week personally, and I said I want to see what he can do. Can he stay consistent? And you know what? Him and Davante Adams, like you were saying, that the connection has finally showed up. Rodgers scoring 30 points, Davante Adams scoring 40 something, being the wide receiver one of the week. I think that connection has finally came. I think them two as a duo can really, really strive to push you to the championship week next week.
Yeah, I mean, they just might get hot for your team at the right time, and then exactly. That's all you need.
There was a player I wanted to talk about how he didn't get hot this week. Man, he was a guy that's been hot all year, and then this past week he scored a dud. If I can remember the name, I'm gonna shout him out because why not? We'll go with Gary's next guy, and he was actually my guy last week, and it's Jameis Winston. I don't really see much in Jameis Winston. I think the reason why he's picking this is because he's going up against Cincinnati this upcoming week, and it's a very, very favorable matchup against Cincinnati. He finished as a QB 33. What a great pickup. You can go get yourself.
I did say it was a trap game last week. I did call it. I did say it was a trap for them. You did.
He had no touchdowns, 3 interceptions. I think realistically, out of all 3 of our guys, I think this guy is the one I'm kind of pumping the brakes on. And the reason why is because I'm nervous that if he throws another interception, he's just going to get benched for the rest of the game. Like he might be on such a short leash.
Yeah, well, what I've heard, anyways, is that they haven't committed to a quarterback so far, so that's why I'd be cautious about Winston. I mean, I can see the matchup if he knows he's going to start and you need one, then I get it. The Bengals defense is just like easy pickings right now, and if they do throw Winston in there, I can see this being a shootout. With the caveat that he's probably going to throw at least 1 or 2 interceptions. But yeah, right now I wouldn't be rushing to get him. Just what I've seen and what I've heard is that they haven't made a decision on who's going to be the starting quarterback.
Yeah. And I mean, if he ends up being the starting quarterback, you could also mention how he could really do well this upcoming week of the favorable matchup. But again, you're always bound to see an interception. And again, like you mentioned, Keith, that's the problem. And if he does throw an interception, if he throws 2 interceptions, is he on a short leash where he's going to get pulled? Here's my only concern with the offense in general. Jerry Jeudy, big stud. If Winston gets benched, I think that's going to hurt Judy's production for the fantasy playoffs.
Oh, I do too. And I think like next season, I don't know, like they're clearly going to go back to Watson, but I don't see Watson being good for Jeudy either next year. So if you're a guy that has Jeudy in Dynasty or something like that, I think I'd be trying to ship him out at the end of the year and see what you can get from him.
100%. I completely agree with you on that. Anthony Richardson, Aaron Rodgers, and Jameis Winston, our top waiver wire quarterback ads of the week. Let's get into the running backs. And Keith, we'll start with your guy first. Who is your ad of the week for the running back position?
So I have for Kendre Miller on the premise that Kamara is going to be out. And I think he will be out this week. I think that groin injury, it was enough to make him, go into the locker room, not come back. I think he will be. And this is like, for me, as players we talked about a few weeks ago that could be sneaky league winners, Kendre Miller could be the guy to get you there to the final. I mean, he's going to get all the touches. I know this week the numbers aren't great, and he only put up like just over 4 fantasy points. But I still think if he's going to be out there, I think he's a sneaky one for your flex that could end up, doing well with Kamara out. So I just thought he was worth a mention.
Yeah, I mean, this is a guy I drafted in one of my dynasty leagues, and he's been so disappointing because I really wanted him to break out, and he just has not breaking out. And I think if Kamara is out, this is the perfect time for him to see production and show how good Kendre Miller can be. So I really like it. And again, agreeing with you as well, I would be surprised if Kamara is playing, because why are you going to start him if you're pretty much out of the playoffs?
Yeah, there's no need to risk it.
No need. I'll go with my guy, and then Keith, you can talk about Gary's guy next after that. My guy is Jerome Ford. This guy, he's now the RB1 once again in Cleveland. And again, if the quarterback situation is a big question mark, we know Jerome Ford, he's been great when he's been at the top of the helm. Actually, you know what? He has a very favorable matchup as well alongside Jameis Winston this upcoming week with Cincinnati. Again, unfortunately, Keith, and hopefully Katie's not listening, or you're not going to tell Katie after, but Cincinnati's defense does really suck. And when he was the starter, when Jerome Ford was the starter, he was averaging RB2 status with the potential of being an RB1. We saw him be an RB1 back in week 1 this past season, or this season. So I expect him to, again, be the RB2 that you need. And I think if he is out there, which he should be because he's 42% owned, because a lot of people dropped him when Chubb came back. If you lost David Montgomery, this is the next best thing that I think you can add off the waivers, because you're going to get the starter and he can catch the ball. He's a pass catcher. So I think this is a really top guy, and we know how he can perform. So you're getting an RB2 status every week from him.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, like you said, I think he's the next best. That's going to be, getting the most snaps if Monty went down your team. But also with the way it went last week and all the interceptions, I think they'll lean heavily on the run early anyways, get Ford into the game, especially if it is Winston start, just to kind of build up his confidence a bit. I'd say it'll be fairly easy throws, nothing too major, and feed Ford. So I like this pick. I think it's, again, taking advantage of a good matchup and a bad defense. So yeah, he's definitely a guy that if he's on my team, I'm definitely starting.
Perfect. Love to hear that. Let's talk about Gary's pick, Keith.
So jumping on to Gary's pick is Tajay Spears of the Titans. I mean, he did well last week. He put up over 24 fantasy points. Again, I took advantage of a bad Bengals. Bengals are just popping up everywhere about bad defense. But the other thing that's interesting as well, I think people got to note with Tajay Spears is Pollard went down with the ankle again, and he's probably questionable this week too. So if that's the case, Spears is going to be the guy against a very average Colts defense. I mean, they give up the 6 most points, the running back position. Yeah. So I mean, it's crying to pick him up. I mean, what is he owned? Like 45%. I mean, he's out there more than half leagues. Go get him. There's another guy that's a potential matchup winner and get you into your final this week. So I think it's a great pick from Gary. I really like it.
Yeah, I really, really like it. I think he's a guy who I think is going to start to take over from Tony Pollard, because Tony Pollard has not been producing as much, and I've always thought Tony Pollard was overrated. I don't know if you've agreed with that, Keith. But yeah, so I like it. I think it's a great pick. I think it's a little bit better than Jameis Winston. But again, Cincinnati back-to-back segments we've talked about, so maybe we'll talk about them next too.
They are getting a bashing today.
They very much are. That just means they're going to go get a defensive player in the first round in next year's draft.
Yeah.
Jerome Ford, Kendre Miller, Tajay Spears, our top running back ads of the week. And I tell you, this week, running backs was amazing to try and find, because I feel like you could easily find them.
This year, I mean, like it's been weird when it comes to the waivers. Like there's a lot of times, I mean, in the past when me and you have done this and we're like, scratching our heads, like we're trying to find running backs even early on. And it came this year early on, but then all of a sudden you're into the semifinals of fantasy, and it's like you can have any running back off there and they're going to do well.
Literally.
I was like, I think Gary had mentioned a few times, like he'd rather pick more tight ends than running backs most weeks. Yeah. So it's just odd how the fantasy season works.
It's been an interesting year, I tell you that. Let's go into our wide receivers, and this one was a little difficult actually. This position to try and find someone. I'm going to go with my guy, Jalen Coker. We mentioned him, I think, a couple weeks ago. Probably was me, to be honest. I wouldn't be surprised. He's only 4% owned. He had 21 points this past week. Wide receiver 12. He finished. He is coming off that injury, and again, coming off the injury, producing well. That's what you want to see. And I think having Adam Thielen back as well, I think is very important, because now all the bigger corners, the top guys, are going to be on Adam Thielen, which we've seen he's doing phenomenal. And obviously Coker, with Legette's injury as well, I think Coker's just the clear-cut wide receiver 2 on that Panthers team. And if Bryce Young can still continue to keep producing, maybe not so much in fantasy, but I mean at least helping us get some fantasy points from other players, I think you could see Coker finishing the season off as a wide receiver 2 after getting 14 targets in the last 2 games.
Yeah, I really like Coker. I think he's going to end up as their wide receiver 1 once Thielen, either retires or goes somewhere else or whatever, finishes off his career anyways. But I think Coker will end up as the wide receiver 1. Very talented guy. I really like him. Very boom or busty is what I would say about Coker. Yes. But right now, I personally, the way I play fantasy, I would take the chance on him. Because I would want that, especially if I'm putting him in as a flex play, I would want the chance that he goes off for 20, 21, 22, 25 points, because that's what's going to win you the game. Obviously, it could go the other way and you could end up with 4 or 5, but I don't mind the pick at all. I feel like the player I've picked as well is in the same bracket of boom or bust, and I think that's where the wide receiver kind of waiver wire is at the moment. So, but they're guys I do like to take chances on, so I like to pick.
Same bracket, same name. Go with your guy, Keith.
Mine is Jalen McMillan from the Bucks. I mean, he put up 75 yards and a touchdown. He's had back-to-back good weeks. He's definitely right now the wide receiver 2 on that team after Mike Evans. He's taken away targets from Otten, which is disappointing for me because I have a lot of shares on Otten, but that's just the way it goes. He's not good. He's only a rookie. I think there's big things to come from him, and I think, like I said about Coker, is boom or busty, but he's proven that he can put it together in back-to-back weeks. Favorable matchup against the Cowboys. So yeah, I think he's a guy you can put in your flex, and he can hopefully do well for you.
Yeah, can't go wrong. I'm McLovin this pick, but I am hating the production that Otten's been getting, because I needed to put him in for an injured tight end, and he did not produce well for me.
No, I mean, he's out there like in all the snaps. They're just not looking for him anymore. He's there. He's just not getting a whole lot anymore.
Yeah. So, but I do like McMillan. I think he is a good guy for that Tampa Bay high-powered offensive team. And again, if Mike Evans does get injured, then the next guy up is McMillan, and then Cade Otton as well. So, yep. I like it. Going on to Gary's pick, it is Mr. Wan'Dale Robinson. Basically 20 combined targets over the last 2 weeks. So the production's there, but he hasn't been able to catch any of the balls, and that could be the question mark of, is it the quarterback play, which I think it's safe to say it probably is. So Wan'Dale Robinson, the Giants go travel to Atlanta, who's given up the 4th most points to wide receivers this upcoming week. Again, Gary going solely on the matchup, which this could be a good week that we could see the production go up and see how the boom and bust player could become a very good boom player with the favorable matchup. Again, times where he's seen top targets, he's finished as a wide receiver 2. So you could see that again with Wan'Dale Robinson.
Yeah, he's actually a player I like. I think if you put him on a better offense, he'd shine a bit more. But I do think he's a pretty good player. The Giants, you just can't be convinced with the play. I get the Falcons, give away the 4th most points to the wide receiver position, but still, I mean, you're putting a lot of faith on who's going to start. Is it Tim Boyle or someone? Is that who played last week? Like that's the question at quarterback. Like, he looked better and stuff, but I mean, you're just taking a big chance, I think, picking a Giants player right now in the playoffs of your league.
Yeah, I mean, I tell you though, once the quarterback gets in there, that offense looks really good.
I mean, Neighbors is so close to 1,000 yards, and he's been having the worst. He's had like 3 or 4 of the worst quarterbacks that have probably even played in the league. That shows you how talented the guy is. So, like, yeah, there is potential there.
Yeah, I'm so intrigued to see if he's going to be able to break it with how horrendous of a team it is.
Yeah.
Jalen Cougar, Jalen McMillan, and Wan'Dale Robinson are top waiver wire wide receiver ads of the week. Let's go into our tight end position. And Keith will start first. And as much as I wanted this guy, it was strange that Keith managed to get onto that Google Doc before I did.
Definitely strange. Definitely strange. Brenton Strange, it was my pick. I mean, he had 11 receptions or 73 yards. Now, he was definitely the safety blanket for Mac Jones. It was nothing crazy down the field. That was all going to Brian Thomas Jr. He had the big day with 30 fantasy points. But he was the safety blanket. He moved the sticks for them, puts up 18 points himself. I mean, this team just likes tight ends. I mean, Evan Ingram flourishes in this, even with like a different quarterback. And now we have Strange doing well with Mac Jones. So they have a favorable matchup again with the Raiders. So I think this is one they can take advantage of, and definitely one you can in your leagues as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a solid pick. I think he's the top tight end, and I think we've seen Evan Ingram struggle, and when he struggled or has been out, we've seen Brent Strange really pull up and do really good, even when it's Mac Jones or Trevor Lawrence. But now we're seeing Mac Jones in there. Will Strange still be involved? It looks to be the answer is yes, and I like it. I think it's really great, and I'm excited to see if he can finish off strong as well for your fantasy season.
Yep.
Which I'm also very upset because I was debating between in one of my leagues, K-Dot or Brent Strange, and I went with K-Dot.
Yeah, well, you probably would, wouldn't you? Like going with the better team, the better quarterback. Like that's the way it looks.
Everything's there.
That's it. But I mean, right now, like for this week, you'd have to lean Strange.
Yeah. Quick question, Jimmy T. Start 2 in PPR for Week 16. Garrett Wilson, Jackson Najigba, Tyreek Hill, or Brian Thomas Jr. This is tough. Quite a dilemma. Could you start all 4? My goodness. I'm gonna lean Garrett Wilson and BTJ.
I'll go definitely BTJ, and like if Gino's going to start, I'd start JSN. I mean, he's all of a sudden he's the wide receiver 1. I mean, like Metcalf's out there doing his thing, but JSN and Gino have a connection. So I would lean him. If it's not going to be JSN, I'd go Wilson and BTJ like you.
He's just doing his thing running routes. That's all he's doing.
Yeah.
That's all DK's doing.
That's all, or taking, like, you know, if you watch some of it, like he was being double teamed, so they were just putting JSN underneath, and he was open all the time. So
yeah, that's right. I'm hyped though for JSN next season because I think are we really going to see Tyler Lockett eventually be done? You think he's going to retire?
I got an extension. He might have 1 more year on him, and then, well, I mean, he's not looked any different. He's just not getting a lot of the ball. I mean, he's when he gets it, he's fine. He's still pretty good. I mean, I still think we have one of the best trios in the league with them guys.
Oh, I agree.
I'd imagine we'll take a wide receiver 2nd round maybe or something and try and place them. I think we will. I think they'll try and build some. I don't like other outside of them. We've got like Jake Bobo, who is fine. Like nobody really else that, like, you know, could fill the void. I think so. I think they will draft someone, but I think we'll get another year out of Lockett anyway.
I think you guys are like the best mid team this year.
Yeah, definitely.
Like on paper, it looks really good.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll go with my guy, and then Gary's pick you can mention about Keith. This guy we mentioned a lot last year, Keith, and I don't know if you've gone sleeper, but his full first name is not there, so I don't know if he shortened it or not. But I'm going to say his full name. It's Chigoziem Okonkwo, and who in the world's that? Well, you finally know about him because we talked about him last year a lot, but. He's got a very favorable matchup against Indianapolis this week. He put up 13.9 fantasy points, only 7% owned. If you're looking at the targets, though, he's got 10 targets this week, 20 in the past 3 weeks. The targets means production potential, and that just means that we're going to keep on seeing the production potential keep rising. Again, if you look at the last 4 weeks, he's finished top 10 in 2 of the last 4 weeks.
I mean, always a talented dude, always a guy we like, as you mentioned. We brought him up a lot last year. The problem is the quarterback play. I mean, Will Levis is just terrible. I think if they go with Rudolph, that gives the team a better chance and also gives Okonkwo a better chance of getting more receptions. So I would, if you see Rudolph is starting, I wouldn't have any problem starting Okonkwo.
It's crazy to think. I feel like as if that draft with Will Levis and Kenny Pickett, I feel like no quarterback needed to be drafted in the first round or second round.
The overhype on quarterbacks in drafts, even if they're mid, is crazy though. Like absolutely crazy. Like, I mean, like, okay, like he still could turn out to be great, but like the hype on like Trevor Lawrence, the hype on Williams. I mean, like Trevor Lawrence, like I don't even know if there was that much hype on Burrow. And Burrow, like, is miles, in my opinion, miles and miles ahead of Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
Caleb, like, okay, he still has, he can still do it in the next couple of years, but like I was watching and reading last night that he's gassed now. Like, I know he's taking a beat at the offensive line has been bad and he's been hit and stuff, but some of that is his own fault. He's taking too long to throw the ball. Like, he can just throw the ball away, not get hit. It's the same as just throwing an incompletion or better than an
exactly.
So like, there's a lot of things he needs to do himself, and the overhype. Like in my opinion, like I like Daniels better. He wasn't getting enough hype, but it was because it was all about Williams. So, I mean, I think if the people who are the draft guys and do this for a living, I think they need to simmer a bit on these quarterbacks because a lot of the recent ones haven't lived up to the hype so far.
No. They very much haven't. And I think if you redraft this year's draft, I personally think Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix are above Caleb Williams easily. And you could even say Drake May as well. All three are ahead of Caleb Williams.
Well, I'd rather pick either of them. Like, and especially if we're going to go talk about fantasy next year, I'm not taking Caleb Williams. I'd rather take one of the other guys as like in my super flex as a QB2 over Williams.
100%. I completely agree with you on that. Let's talk about Gary's pick, Keith. This guy loves to bring this guy up.
Yeah.
And we never do.
He likes Noah Gray a lot. But yeah, Noah Gray, I mean, a lot is going to, it's going to basically how Mahomes gets on this week and whether he's going to play or not. Do you trust him, Noah Gray with Carson Wentz? I'm not sure. But he's done nothing wrong. Over 10 fantasy points last week. Has Houston again. Houston are so hit and miss on defense for me. Yeah. Some weeks they're really good. Some weeks they look terrible. They're just like open everywhere. So I think if Mahomes is going to play, and you need him, yeah, you definitely plug and play. I mean, he should get you around the 10-point mark and hope he gets you a touchdown and then you're good. So yeah, I don't mind the pick.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just concerned on does Carson Wentz look at him? But we've seen it in the past where Carson Wentz thrived with Goddard and Zach Ertz. So I think true. we could see Goddard and Zach Ertz potential with Kelsey and Gray.
Yeah,
if Wentz is the guy to start over Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I mean, does Wentz still have that in him from back then? Like, I don't know. Like, there was at one stage Wentz was pretty good, looked good, and then just went terrible. So if he still got that in him, yeah, like they would. Like, if you're Carson Wentz, you're thinking, right, Noah Gray, Travis Kelce, safety blankets, get the ball to them, get us moving. That would be my thinking, anyways.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think it's going to be interesting to see this week with Noah Gray. But he's been well known now for fantasy because he's been producing.
Yeah, I mean, he's out there. It's going to be interesting to see how that dynamic works going forward. Like, is there going to be a regression off Kelce? Will Gray start coming up? Are we going to see that in the drafts and stuff? So yeah, it's gonna be good to see how it plays out.
It's a good question to ask for the offseason, whether or not Gray will go ahead of Kelce if Kelsey's fallout is starting.
Yeah.
Chigozie Okonkwo, Brenton Strange, and Noah Gray are top waiver wire tight end ads of the week. And of course, it's time for the final segment of the day. Thursday Night Football predictions. Broncos at the Chargers. The over-under is 42.5 points. And of course, if you're looking at the records, I'm not doing so well. Right now, Keith, continuously being number one. He is 20-14 record overall on the year. Gary right behind him, 19-15, and then I'm 4 games back from Keith, 16-18. Under 500, but we're gonna get back to 500 this week. Keith, we'll start with your pick. Who is your pick this week?
So I'm hoping that we have a healthy Justin Herbert again. Hopefully he's all right, and we have a Chargers win, 23-17, and I've taken the under.
Okay, all right. So you're going with the Chargers. You're taking the under. Gary comes in, and he is taking the Broncos, and he's taking the over, 24-20. That is huge, because that means if the Chargers win and there is an under, Keith is almost guaranteed solidified to win. Almost. The possibility of Gary coming back is definitely a lot lower. But if Gary wins the over and the Broncos, he pulls ahead of Keith. So that's going to be an exciting one to see. Now for me, I'm throwing Hail Marys left and right. But I think we're going to see an upset here. I really do think that the Broncos are going to win. It's going to be a very, very close game, 24-23, and I'm smashing the over. And Keith is going to continuously fall because the Chargers not going to win, and it's not going to be under. We're going to hope for that because we really need that.
I'm the lone wolf this week. I'll take it. It's fine. I was probably the lone wolf for a lot of weeks, and it worked out. So let's hope it works out again.
Oh, he's got the confidence. He's got the confidence in him. I'm excited. I think this is going to be a really good Thursday Night Football.
It should be, yeah. It should be a good game. I mean, I think Gary's funny. Gary was like not a Bo Nix guy, but he's picked Bo Nix a few times on the waivers. Then he's picking the Broncos this week. So yeah, he's definitely changed Gary's perception of him, anyways.
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm actually surprised the over/under is a lot lower. I feel like it should have been a little higher, in my opinion.
I say they're looking at the games. I mean, they didn't, as in the Chargers kind of got blown out in the end, and then the Broncos Indy game was just a slow burner. So I'd say that's where they're basing it off.
I would have said the over/under like 45.5, which again isn't as much more, but it's still just those 3 points are still make a difference.
Yeah.
Intriguing, very much intriguing. But that's our picks. Keith taking the Chargers under 23-17, Gary 24-20, Broncos taking the over, and myself 24-23, Broncos taking the over as well. That's going to do it here in this week's show. Again, we're back every single week, Tuesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern time. You can't see it because we have curtains that are very dark, but Keith, it's bright outside right now. Isn't that crazy?
Isn't that crazy? You're back at normal time.
Back at normal time. Again, we're here 12 p.m. Eastern time every single Tuesday. It's a 3-man show. Me, Keith, and Gary. Of course, Gary not being here. I gotta get some type of little time thing to mention every time at the beginning of the show. You know how like fantasy footballers, they got like the bear. Yeah. We gotta get that. We gotta get that in. But again, if you haven't done so already, go use that code SportsTimeHQ on Underdog Fantasy. They're going to match your first deposit up to $100. And again, the seasons are right around the corner. It's just about ending in your fantasy leagues. Next week is the championship league week for many teams after this upcoming week. Or if you're one of those people that like to play week 18 championships, well, I mean, you got some extra time to go get yourself a trophy, a ring, or a belt to celebrate the victorious team that wins your league. Again, TrophySmack.com/SportsTimeHQ. Again, I was joined by my great co-host, Keith. You can follow him all over social media at SwampDonkey_90. And Gary, who should be back with us next week, go follow him all over social media at GDPicks. I'm your host, Fernando. I was joined by Keith, and we will see you all next week.